Let's make a comparison between the Insta360 Ace Pro and Ace Pro 2 action cameras. Full disclosure, and I don't think that's a secret at this point, I use Insta360 cameras all the time on the Dive Saga channel. I'm a big fan of them and I do get a lot of support from them. So this is not an Insta360 versus other camera brand manufacturers video. This is the one versus the two. But I do get support from Insta360, and because of that, I'm able to give you a discount when you pick up one of these. So I'll put a link below that you can use as well. It'll take you to their website and you'll get some bundle deals on either one of the cameras. But I think it's important that you realize that. By popular demand, we're going to compare the Insta360 Ace Pro and the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 action cameras. This is a highly requested topic, and so it is only appropriate that we're going to cover that. As you guys maybe know, I shoot all my scuba diving adventures on Insta360 Ace Pro cameras. I'm a big fan of them because of their low light capabilities and overall build quality. But let's list the 10 reasons why you may choose one or the other. Let's start with maybe the easiest specs to sort of wrap our heads around, and that is resolution and frame rate. Both cameras can shoot up to 8K resolution, which you may or may not use. I tend to shoot mostly at 4K resolution, but for those of you who need 8K capability, it's worth knowing that the Ace Pro shoots at 24 frames per second, whereas the Ace Pro 2 shoots at 30 frames per second in 8K. It's not a huge bump, but nonetheless, depending on your workflow, that may be significant. When it comes to 4K, traditionally the first Ace Pro used to shoot 4K 60 frames, but if you wanted to use active HDR, you were going to be limited to 4K 30 frames per second. That has also been upgraded in the Ace Pro 2, where you can now use active HDR in 4K up to 60 frames per second. When it comes to the sensor and or the lens, it is worth knowing that both sensors are the same size. They both feature a 1/1.3 inch sensor, which is large and is definitely, in my opinion, up there with the best. However, when it comes to the lens, there is a slight upgrade as well on the Ace Pro 2, where the Ace Pro has a 151 degrees field of view, the Ace Pro 2 has a 157 degrees field of view, so a little bit wider. Depending on what you tend to shoot, and if a very wide field of view is important for you, then the Ace Pro 2 might be the better choice. When it comes to processing and AI features, it's also worth knowing that the Insta360 Ace Pro 1 has a single chip, whereas the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 actually has dual chips. So it has a dedicated imaging chip and then it has a 5nm AI chip. This setup is supposed to enhance image quality and reduce noise. What I've noticed when I went out shooting and compared both of them, and I don't know if that's because of the dual chip setup, but it must be, is that whenever finishing recording, the Ace Pro 1 always needs a little bit of time to save that recording before you can go to shooting the next one, and it always bothered me just a little bit. The Ace Pro 2 does not seem to have that delay. So for somebody like me who uses this to shoot a lot of action, underwater, a little bit documentary style, being able to record immediately again after deciding to stop, maybe something's happening and I didn't know it was going to go that way, I find that huge. So where the Ace Pro 1 always needed a bit more time, the Ace Pro 2 has completely done away with that. We should also talk about color. There are some additional color modes that are, in my opinion, fairly huge in the Ace Pro 2. Again, depending on what your post-processing workflow is, you may or may not find that useful, but the Ace Pro 2 has a dedicated underwater mode, which for us scuba divers definitely matters. If you don't want to do too much post-production and you want the footage out of the camera just to be straight up usable, the Ace Pro was already great in that regard. It's why it's my favorite, but the Ace Pro 2 takes that a little bit further with its dedicated underwater video mode. It has a little wider field of view. It automatically optimizes color for underwater and it increases stabilization. But what is maybe more interesting to me anyways, if you do tend to color correct your footage a lot, there is also a new iLog mode. So this shoots, of course, a flatter color profile, but allows for much more manipulation afterwards. It is still 8-bit, yeah, but I do find that there is definitely an enhanced result when shooting on the Ace Pro 2. So in that regard, if you do want to color correct your footage afterwards, there is an upgrade there. If you don't want to color correct afterwards, but you are a scuba diver, then that dive mode is, in my opinion, also an upgrade. When it comes to the design, they actually look very, very similar. And from a certain angle, I don't always know which is which and I have to look, but there are some differences. First of all, the screen on the Ace Pro 2 is slightly larger. Where the Ace Pro 1 has a 2.4-inch screen, the Ace Pro 2 has a 2.5-inch screen. And that is still a flip screen, so that is also a fairly unique feature. You cannot really use the frontal screen to see yourself, but the flip screen, of course, fixes that. And it is still super sturdy build quality. Slightly larger screen, I'll take it. Second is the waterproofing. Yeah, so they are both waterproof, but the Ace Pro 1 is only waterproof to 30 feet, so 9-ish meters. And the Ace Pro 2 is waterproof to 39 feet, so 12-ish meters. Yeah, it is only a little bit more, but it is again an upgrade. So if you tend to shoot without the housing underwater, maybe you're into snorkeling or very shallow scuba diving, you could use that without the housing and still get decent workflow. But of course, I would always recommend using a housing anyway. Nevertheless, a waterproof camera these days is a must, and I think increasing the depth rating on that is not a crazy thing to do. Also, when it comes to the outside, you might see a little difference here where the microphone has a little guard. It's removable, but it is a wind guard. It makes it a little bulkier, but it doesn't protrude any further than the lens does anyway. So in my opinion, it doesn't bother me. And of course, having a wind guard there and having that extra protection against the elements and being able to record just a little crisper audio is welcome. But again, it is also removable. My 10th and last point would be that the batteries have also been upgraded. So you now have a 1800 milliamp hour battery versus the 1650, which is in the Ace Pro 1. So you do get also 10% longer battery life. So if you're like me and you shoot a lot underwater, for me, once the camera goes in the housing, I prefer to keep it there. So the longer life I can get out of a single battery, the better. It's also worth noting that the Ace Pro 2 has another feature that the Ace Pro 1 doesn't have in regards to its battery, and it's that it allows for reverse charging. So you can actually charge other devices with the Ace Pro 2. It's a small thing, but I could see in a pickle when you're out in the field, you're on a shoot, you need some extra power. You know, it's just an extra functionality, again, that the Ace Pro 2 has, that the Ace Pro 1 does not. So either way, whichever one you feel is appropriate for you, I will put a link below. You can actually pick them up at a small discount thanks to the Dive Saga coupon code. There's a link below, you just have to click it, put it into your cart and so forth. That helps out the channel, but it also helps out you. As you know, I am a big believer of these products. I think they're very good, but it is also fair for you to know that they did ask me to compare these two. And if you've seen the adventures on the Dive Saga channel, then you know that I put my money where my mouth is. I use these all the time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.